Before you walk into a room, you're already reading it. Not consciously, just you walk in, and something in you immediately starts scanning. The energy. Whether anyone seems tense or quiet or off in a way you can't quite name. And if something feels wrong, if someone seems upset or heavier than usual, something in you shifts. Not just noticing, moving toward it, starting to think about what you could do to make it better, before anyone has asked you to. You've spent so long doing this that it doesn't feel like a choice anymore. It just feels like being a caring person, like showing up. But there's a cost that's been adding up quietly. Because it's not just that you notice other people's emotions. It's that somewhere along the way, you started feeling responsible for them. And you're not sure when that became your job, or whether you ever agreed to take it on. Here are 7 signs you feel responsible for everyone else's emotions, and why that pattern follows you into every relationship you have. Sign 1. You scan the room before you've said a word. You walk into a space, and before you've taken your coat off, you've already assessed everyone in it. Who seems fine? Who seems off? What the general mood is, and whether anything needs to be managed. It's so fast, you barely notice it happening. It just feels like being perceptive. But perceptive and responsible are different things. Noticing that someone is having a hard day is one thing. Feeling like it's your job to fix it before they've said anything, before you even know what's wrong, is something else entirely. This kind of alertness often develops in environments where reading the room felt important, where someone else's mood could shape what happened next. Your nervous system learned to stay one step ahead of other people's emotional states because at some point it mattered. It's still doing that now, even when it doesn't need to. Sign 2. When someone around you is upset, you assume it's about you. They're quiet. They give a one-word answer where they'd normally give 3, and immediately something in you wonders, what did I do? Not every time, but often enough that you recognize the feeling. That low-level review of recent interactions, scanning for where you might have said the wrong thing, been too much, not been enough. Even when you logically know they're stressed about something that has nothing to do with you, the assumption still lands first. This is the residue of growing up in an environment where the emotional state of the people around you was sometimes connected to something you did or didn't do. You learned to check yourself first because it was once the most efficient way to stay safe. Sign 3. You apologize before you know what you've done wrong. Sorry comes out automatically, preemptively, before anyone has named what went wrong or whether anything went wrong at all. Someone seems annoyed. Sorry. There's tension in the room. Sorry. You're not sure what happened, but something feels off. Sorry. The apology isn't about owning a specific mistake. It's a reflex, a way of lowering the emotional temperature before it rises, a way of making yourself smaller so there's less to be upset at. The apology was never really about guilt. It was about managing someone else's emotional state and keeping yourself safe in the process. Sign 4. Other people's moods change your own. You walk in feeling fine. Someone else is having a bad day, and within 20 minutes, something has shifted in you too. Not because anything happened to you, just because their mood is in the room and yours has adjusted to match it. Part of this is empathy, but empathy is feeling with someone. What happens here is closer to absorption. Their emotional state moves into you and becomes yours, and you lose track of where theirs ends and yours begins. Your internal weather becomes determined by everyone else's forecast, and you end up carrying emotional weight that was never yours to carry. Sign 5. You can't enjoy yourself when someone nearby is struggling. There's a particular guilt that arrives when you're having a good time and someone you care about isn't. You're at a dinner or a celebration or just a quiet evening, and you notice that someone in the room seems off, and the enjoyment drains out, almost immediately. So you go over, you check in, you try to help, and sometimes it works. But the point isn't whether it works. The point is that you couldn't stay present in your own experience until you did. Your own contentment became conditional on the emotional state of everyone around you. That is an exhausting way to live. Sign 6. You adjust yourself to fit the emotional temperature of every room. You're a slightly different version of yourself depending on who you're with and what they seem to need. Lighter when someone needs cheering up, quieter when the room is tense, more accommodating when you can feel someone pulling away. The adjustments happen so automatically, they don't feel like adjustments. They feel like being easy to be around. But there's a version of you underneath all of that. One that has preferences, moods, and needs that don't shift based on what everyone else requires. That version has been getting quieter for a long time because someone else's emotional needs always seemed more urgent. Sign 7. You feel guilty when you can't fix how someone else feels. You tried. You said the right things, or you think you did. You showed up, you listened, you offered what you had, and they're still not okay. And instead of recognizing that some things aren't yours to fix, something in you reads this as failure, like you didn't try hard enough, like if you'd done it differently, they wouldn't still be hurting. This guilt is the clearest sign of how deeply the responsibility has lodged itself. Not just that you try to help, but that you feel personally accountable for outcomes that were never in your control. You are responsible for your actions and how you repair harm. You are not responsible for regulating another person's emotional life. Other people's emotions are not yours to solve. That is not a failure of love. That is just the truth of what one person can do for another. Feeling responsible for other people's emotions isn't a character flaw. It's a pattern that was built, usually early, usually in response to an environment where someone else's emotional state had real consequences for you. You learned to monitor, to manage, to preempt. It kept things smoother. It kept you safer. But you can care without carrying. You can be present without absorbing. You can love someone and still let their emotions belong to them. That distinction between caring and being responsible is one of the most important things you can learn to feel in your body, not just understand in your head. If this resonated, there's something worth sitting with. A lot of people who carry everyone else's emotions also struggle with something that runs in the opposite direction. Not just giving too much, but feeling unable to ask for anything at all. Because needing something from someone can feel like becoming a burden to the very people you've spent years trying to protect. That's what we're exploring next.